Hello, this is Onjigo from Onjigo Pro.llc. In these videos, I want to show you that you can control your own robot using Raspberry Pi. But first, we're going to test communicating to the Raspberry Pi using UE4. I am communicating to Raspberry Pi online by using UE4 to load PHP files from my hosting. Those PHP files has code that writes commands into a text file that's also in my hosting. And then Raspberry Pi is constantly reading those text files, or that one text file that has the command. If it's true or false that it does or does not equal a certain statement, then turn on the motor or turn off the motor. Or shall I say turn on the robot or turn off the robot. So I will show you how to create an interface in UE4 on how to control this online, and I will also show you how to create an interface in Raspberry Pi to control this online and offline. So let's get started. Here I can toggle between my commands and converse, which is motors on, motors off, for example, and converse is making basic conversation with the robot. This video is not to show the fundamentals and basics of how to create a user interface in UE4. I simply want to show you of how I got everything to work. So I will show you and navigate the blueprint script and the hard code in Raspberry Pi. So you are looking at the commands widget. This white box is a web browser box in which I'm loading the PHP file that is in my hosting. These buttons below just allow me to load the PHP on press or on click. Here at the top left is just navigation buttons. So if I click on motors on button, motors on Onjibot command. So this is simply a PHP file loaded that just performed an action, which is to write motors on into a text file called converse text in my hosting. So I loaded a PHP file, it wrote motors on into a text file called converse text in my hosting. Here is just a statement to just let me know that it worked. So as you can see, these are a list of the PHP commands that are in my hosting that write into the text file called conversation.txt. This is the conversation.txt file, and inside of it says motors on, in which I've just written into by loading that PHP file in UE4. Here is the code for the motors on PHP command file. So this lets me know that the page is open. This is the local text, and this is what is writing into the text file. So remember what I said, Raspberry Pi is going to be constantly reading this text file to see what it says, whether it's motors on or motors off. If it's motors on, it's going to turn the motor on. If it's off, it's going to turn it off. But it's going to be constantly reading it, and I'll show you guys how to do that. For this video, we're just going to focus on commands, and for the next video, I'll show you the interface and the blueprint code for the conversation. I don't want to focus on navigation. Like I said, you can navigate and create a user interface however you want. I want to focus mainly on the meat and potatoes, which is the commands, the blueprint. So here, this is the button that I created called Eyes On. There's a button right here called Eyes On. I created an on click, but it can be on pressed. For web browser is the web browser that we're loading the URL into. So this is the web browser box there. So we're going to have a load URL and a select string. And the string is actually the URL in which you're loading your PHP file from. My PHP file is in my hosting. So you want to put it from your hosting as well. And it's simply the same for the rest. For motors on, motors off, motor forward, motor reverse. When you click on a button, either one of the buttons that you created, you're going to load the URL into that web browser. And that's pretty much it for now. In the next video, I'll show you how to do for simple conversation. And thank you for watching the first part of our Making Me Onjibot series.